Hi, Brody. Thanks for joining us again.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you. So, you wrote a second play named 53 Years. Can you generalize your play in a sense and give us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So 53 years, it's a monologue, spoken from, one person, obviously being a monologue. Basically what I wanted to do is just kind of take a look at, everything that was going on over the summer with the protests. Um, we get really, so what the monologue is, it's an African American man talking to his grandson, talking about the Detroit riots uh, back in the 60s, basically explaining to him what he experienced. And what I wanted to show, we get very stuck in the now, what's going on now. We tend to forget things really quick. We move on to the next cause, or you know, oh, it's solved, let's move on now. But these things that we're seeing happening now were happening a long time before. And I that's I really wanted to write that piece to show, hey, yeah, this is happening now, but this ain't new.
Mm.
It's we've been, you know, African Americans have been targeted for years, racially profiled for years. Rioting, the need to protest has been happening for years. This is not a new thing. We need to stop. We need to we need to start looking at where it began, not why is this happening now? Why did this ever begin with? Because we need to find a solution to it. So it was really important to kind of write that story to show that this is not new. This is something we've been experiencing for a while.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So your need to kind of bring that to the forefront, the fact that we're kind of in this continuing circle, that's what prompted you to write this particular script.
Yeah, and so I'm Jewish, and so being Jewish, being Jewish, we faced a lot of, it's different, but throughout history also, you look at the Holocaust, or back in the early 1900s, 1900s, you had the pogroms, which were when the Jews were chased out of Russia, and so many different stories of this. And then you look at what's going on now with the Asian population, and kids are getting beat up, or a 75-year-old woman got punched.
Yeah.
This is not. I could have wrote this story about a Japanese man telling his son or grandson about his experience in the internment camps in the 1940s, and explain to his son, why is he being hated on now? Well, hey, this is happening then. Or a Jewish man talking about his experience of a Holocaust, explaining to his son what blood in the sand means, that the white supremacists were chanting in Charlottesville.
Mm.
These stories, or even all the Latino kids who are being separated at the border and thrown in cages. A Spanish man talking about his experience coming over, to America 20, 30 years ago, and how it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
These stories, unfortunately, it reaches so many people. So I could have changed it to so many different nationalities, just to show that these racism has been a problem in our country. And I mean, not only our country, in the world. I mean, the stuff that's happening, in Europe. I mean, you hear the stuff that, the royal family said about Meghan Markle, I believe, but it's horrible. Like it's not, so it's not just an American thing. This is a world thing. But it's been happening for thousands of years now. And it's crazy. So I really wanted to write a story that touched on, just the fact that these are not unique to now. These are things we've been experiencing for a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, with that being said, did you run into any difficulties writing the script?
Not really.
Mm.
Not really. It came about pretty easy. it popped in my head right away. I mean, I think the hardest part, so it started as a assignment in Katie Rada's class, her advanced playwriting class. It was to write a monologue. This was the second monologue we had to write about, and I didn't know what to write at first. So I think that was the hardest part, just figuring out what I wanted to write. And once that idea came to me, it was easy. It flowed easy. And unfortunately, this was probably early in the semester. I want to say probably October, maybe. So I mean, the protests were still happening. All that was still happening. So it's fresh. It was, it was in my thoughts. So once the pen hit the paper, it came out pretty easy.
That's amazing. I think some of the most beautiful stories come from truth. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Were you able to check out any of the rehearsals?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I got to direct that one.
You did.
Yeah, it was interesting. So I'm very blessed. We have, if you're familiar with Professor Farrell Foreman, he is performing in the piece. Originally, he was going to direct it, but we couldn't find the right actor for it, and he was perfect. And so he stepped in the role. I directed it, and yeah, so I sat in every rehearsal and got to watch. He's amazing.
That's so awesome.
So excited.
Wow.
It was cool because he had retired from acting. So I was able to pull him back in, and it was cool to get to see him perform. It's
wow, especially for such a important piece. That's amazing.
Yeah. I was happy because it's written for a Black man in his 60s, which obviously isn't the demographic of students at City College. I mean, the older population. I'm probably there's not a whole lot, especially in the theater department. So the fact that he was willing and wanted to do it was amazing.
That is fascinating. That just intrigues me more and more. I can't wait to check it out. Is there anything that you think people should know about you as a person, or even you as a playwright?
There's always hard questions. These are the hardest questions when I got to speak about myself. I can
Yeah.
speak about what I wrote all day. Speaking about myself, no, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, you'll see. I mean, this is my second piece I wrote for this show, and the other one's a complete satire. So I like to kind of touch every genre. I like to make people laugh, but I also like to pull the heartstrings. I like to write truth, but I like to write ridiculous. I like a little bit of everything. Yeah, I mean
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're super excited to check out both of your pieces.
Awesome.
So thank
Good.
you.
I hope you enjoy them.
Oh, I will. I can feel it.
All right.
Thanks, Brody.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.